Welcome. Today we will learn about the simplest form of a boiler. We have already discussed the definition of a boiler. A boiler is a closed vessel to produce steam at high pressure from water by application of heat. And the heat is obtained by burning a suitable fuel in the furnace. The steam produced by a boiler has many uses. For example, steam is the working fluid of steam turbine in the thermal power plant for generation of electricity. Steam is used in many industrial processes. For example, pulp and paper mills, textile industries, jute mill, etc. And all this steam as a whole is called the process steam. Steam is also used for room heating in many cold countries. So let us understand the construction and working of a most simple type of boiler. The boiler we are going to discuss is called the simple vertical boiler. So this is a 3D model of a simple vertical boiler. The model is prepared for understanding the construction and working principle only, and it may not be as per the technical specifications in terms of dimensions and exact position of different parts. As I have mentioned, all boilers have some basic common things. For example, all boilers must have some space for burning the fuel where the sufficient oxygen or atmospheric air can enter into the space. And there should be a space for water, and that water will be heated to form the steam. So the space for steam is also required, which is above the water surface. The steam should be exited from the steam space for the intended use. There should be enough supply of air for combustion of the fuel, because if the supply of oxygen is good, then there will be complete combustion of fuel, and that will produce more heat, and more heat means more steam can be produced per unit time. So simple vertical boiler consists of a cylindrical cell. That is, it consists of a vertical cylindrical cell, and this vertical cylindrical cell is attached to the bottom of the furnace. So this is the furnace. At the bottom, this vertical cylindrical cell is attached. Now let us understand what is a furnace. And this furnace is also called a firebox. Furnace is the space for combustion of the coal or any solid fuels. So the coal is burnt here to produce heat. This is the furnace or firebox, and this is the place where the coal is burnt. And at the bottom of the furnace there is a platform that is called a grate. So a grate is a platform, and it is required for supporting the solid fuels in the furnace, and it is placed at the bottom of the firebox, and coal is fed onto it for burning. The coal is fed through this space. It is placed over here, and this is the platform, and that platform is called a grate. There are some openings on the grate for supply of air from the bottom. Due to this opening, the air can enter and it will go up for burning the fuel. And these openings also very useful for the ash that is produced after burning to be settled on another platform that is called the ash pit. Now, what is ash pit? This area is ash pit, Due to this opening, the ash will come down and it will be collected in another platform, which is called the ash pit. And from this ash pit, the ash can be removed from time to time. And air will also go up through these openings to the combustion chamber or firebox or to the furnace. Now coming to chimney or stack. So up to this is called the furnace. And from the furnace, top of the furnace, there is a chimney. So what is a chimney? Chimney is the passage for flow of products of combustion from the combustion chamber or furnace to the atmosphere. Whatever product of combustion is produced inside this furnace, it will go through this chimney and it will be go to the atmosphere for dispersion of the pollutant or smoke. The chimney passes from the top of the fireway through the top of the cell. The smokes are thus exhausted to the atmosphere. Top of the cylindrical cell, and this is the top of the furnace. Chimney starts from the top of the furnace and it goes through the top of the cylindrical cell up to the atmosphere up to some particular height. Now we'll discuss about the details of the simple vertical boiler. Now we'll discuss the working principle of a simple vertical boiler. Let us see how it works. First we'll start from the grate. So this is the foundation for the grate and furnace. Above this foundation, the grate will be placed. This is the grate on which the coal is placed, and this area is for the furnace area, and the coal is fed through this fire door, and ash will be collected below this grate. This is the ash pit. Now let us see the full view of the furnace. So up to this is the furnace, and above the furnace this is chimney. Now you can see in the furnace there are two tubes. This is one tube and this is another tube, and these are called the cross tubes. So it helps the circulation of water. The water will surround this furnace and water will absorb the heat from the furnace, and these tubes called the cross tubes helps the circulation of water. It helps the proper convective current during the heating of the water, because the low density water after absorbing the heat will go up, because the water density decreases when it get heated. So low density particles will go up through these pipes. That way a good convective current is established. Now another important safety measure is the fusible plug. This is the fusible plug. This is fusible plug, and if the water level decreases below this, then this furnace material will be overheated. But before the failure of this furnace material, this fusible plug will melt and there will be one hole. This hole will be opened to the furnace. So whatever water is present inside the boiler will enter into the furnace under pressure. And because of the entry of the water inside the furnace, the fire or combustion of the fuel will be stopped, or we can say fire will be extinguished. So that is for the safety measure. So whole boiler becomes safe, because otherwise if the water level decreases, then the boiler material will melt and that may cause the blasting of the boiler. And if the boiler blasts due to the melting of the material, and that is actually a catastrophic failure of the boiler, because that can injure or even cause death of the workers near the boiler. So this is about flow of hot flue gases. This way air enters through these great openings, fuel enters through the fire door, and the hot burn gases will go to the atmosphere through this chimney. Now this is the water space. That means the furnace is surrounded by the cylindrical shell. So this space is for the water. The water will absorb the heat from the furnace, and that water will be evaporated or will become steam, and that will be collected at the top part of the boiler. That is called the space. This space is called the steam space. Space for the steam. So simply these are the things, but the safety of a boiler is very essential thing, because boiler works at high pressure and it handles steam and hot water. If the boiler explodes due to high pressure or because of the low water level inside, it is a catastrophic failure of the boiler. So to avoid this thing, there should be some fittings or devices attached to the boiler, and those fittings are called the boiler mountings. So what are the boiler mountings? Boiler mountings are the devices attached to the boiler for safe operation of the boiler. For example, first thing we will discuss about, this is called the steam stop valve. That means the flow of steam from the steam drum is regulated with the help of this valve. That means the steam flow can be reduced or increased, or steam flow may be stopped completely as per requirement. When the steam is required in the engine or turbine, then this stop valve is open, and when it is not required, then stop valve is closed. So what is the function of a steam stop valve? It regulates the flow of steam from the steam drum to the required place. Safety is very important. In pressure cooker also there is one safety valve. Similarly in boiler, so this safety valve, when the pressure inside the boiler increases above the normal working pressure, then this safety valve automatically opens and it releases the steam to the atmosphere. And after releasing the steam, the pressure comes down to the normal condition, then the safety valve automatically closes. So that is the function of this safety valve. So it does not allow to increase the boiler pressure above the working pressure. There is another safety arrangement, that is, this is called the pressure gauge. It indicates the pressure inside the boiler. So the operator of the boiler can read from the pressure gauge, and accordingly he can take the decision. If the water level decreases, that is very bad, and therefore there is water level indicator. There are two pipes connected to the boiler, and there is one vertical pipe, and this vertical pipe particularly is made of glass. So we can see the water level inside the boiler, and if the water level decreases, the boiler has to be filled with water. Filling of the boiler with the water is called boiler feeding. For boiler feeding, there should be one connection, and there is one valve also, and that valve is called feed check valve. I have shown this type of valve, but this is something different type of valve, and this valve is called a feed check valve, and this is a non-return and one-way valve only. That means water can enter into the boiler, but the water cannot flow from the boiler to outside. That is the function of this feed check valve. One feed water pump is required. The water is pumped inside the boiler and the pumping pressure must be greater than the boiler pressure. Then only water will enter inside the boiler. So we need one feed check valve along with a feed pump. Boiler continuously consumes water and the boiler feed water may contain some mud or solid particles. So those muds will be deposited at the bottom part of the boiler because the solids are heavier than the water. So this is the most bottom part of the boiler. At this bottom part there should be one cock or arrangement, and if we open this cock or valve, then the water will be blown out of the boiler under pressure because pressure inside the boiler is very high, and that pressure will blow out the water, and along with that water the mud particles that is deposited at the bottom part of the boiler will go out of the boiler. So this is called blow off cock. So these are the main safety attachment in the boiler, and more than that there is one manhole. So a manhole is a hole big enough so that a man can enter inside the boiler during the shutdown period, and if required the man can inspect, man can repair or clean the boiler. There is one hand hole. That means this hole is big enough to enter one hand, and with the help of the hand the cross tubes can be cleaned or inspected if required, and this is also done during the shutdown period of the boiler, not when the boiler is running. That is not possible. So now we'll see the inside of the boiler, and say we'll see one section view like this. So if we cut the boiler in this plan, we can see these cross tubes. So these cross tubes allow the flow of water from one side to another. This is one cross tube, this is another cross tube. This is the furnace grate, then hot gas will go out to the atmosphere. This furnace and the chimney is covered with the water and steam also. At the bottom, at the top part it is steam, at the lower part it is the water. Most of the cylindrical shell is covered with water, and a small part, maybe 1/3, is covered or occupied by the steam. This is safety valve. We can also see another view. This is the front section. If we see the side section, then we'll see something like this. This is the fusible plug. Water can enter inside this furnace if the fusible plug get melted due to the overheating of the material, if the water level decreases. So this is how a simple vertical boiler works. Furnace and grate, then this is the water space, then comes a chimney, then the water drum as well as steam drum. This is covered, and all the mountings, boiler mountings. Okay, so in the next video we'll discuss the modified simple vertical boiler, because this is the most simplest form of the boiler, and we'll discuss about the modified boiler. That means next advanced form of the boiler. Okay, now let us mention about the technical specifications of simple vertical boiler. The capacity of simple vertical boiler is less, and its operating pressure is also low. The steam generation rate ranges from 50 kg per hour to 100 kg per hour. and the steam pressure is from 2 bar to 10 bar pressure. And drum diameter or the cylindrical cell diameter is generally from 0.6 meter to 2 meter, and the height of the cell is from 1.2 meter to 4 meter. Some main points of the boiler, simple vertical. So talking about cross tubes. Cross tube, one or more cross tubes are generally riveted to the furnace to increase the heating surface and to improve the water circulation. It creates a good convection current for circulation of hot and cold water. A manhole is generally provided on the top of the cell to enter a man into it and inspect and repair the boiler from inside. A handhole is provided in the cell opposite to the ends of the cross tubes for cleaning the cross tubes. Then the safety of boiler is very important because boiler works at high pressure and it handles high pressure steam and water. If the boiler explodes due to high pressure or absence of water inside, it is a catastrophic failure of the boiler and it may cause many damages. There are many devices attached to the boiler to ensure the safe operation of the boiler, and the set of such attachments are called boiler mountings. For example, steam stop valve. The function of a steam stop valve is to regulate the flow of steam from the boiler and stop it completely if required. Then pressure gauges are used to measure the pressure of steam inside the boiler. Water level indicator indicates the water level inside the boiler. If water level goes down, it would cause overheating of the boiler. And one of the important boiler mounting is the fusible plug. Fusible plug is a plug made of low melting point alloy. Fusible plug is placed above the furnace. If the water level goes down, the fusible plug is melted much before the boiler material due to overheating. The water enters the furnace under pressure and the fire is extinguished, and it avoids the explosion of the boiler. So this is all about the simple vertical boiler for today. Next class we'll discuss about the modified simple vertical boiler, which we call the Cochrane boiler. Okay, thank you.